Today you're going to learn about mean absolute deviation. What is mean absolute deviation? Right here it says one way to describe the variability or how spread out a set of data is by using the mean absolute deviation. Mean absolute deviation is the average distance that the data points in a set of data are from the mean. So basically what we're looking for is we are looking for the distance each data point is from the mean of the data. Here's our steps to calculating mean absolute deviation. That's where we're at right now. We are going to find the mean of the data set. We are going to then find the distance from each data set, each data point in the mean. And then we're going to find the mean of those distances. So those are our 3 steps to finding mean absolute deviation. So here's an example. We're right here at number 1. A police officer recorded the following speeds for the last 7 drivers that passed by. So the 7 drivers were driving a speed of 61, 68, 63, 67, 70, 62, and 64 miles per hour. What is the mean of the data set? Now we have to remember, what does that mean? So whenever they say the word mean, really they're looking for the average. And if you recall, the way we do that is we have to add up all of these numbers here and divide by how many numbers there are. So we need to add up 61 plus 68 plus 63 plus 67 plus 70 plus 62 plus 64. We're going to add all those numbers together, and then we're going to divide it by how many numbers there were. Well, I know there's 7 numbers there, so I'm going to divide all of that by 7. Now, in our calculator, we can either type it in just like this, or we can type in the top part by itself, so we can add up all those numbers together. And if we add up all those numbers together, I would get 455. So now I'm going to do 455 divided by 7. And then I can plug that into my calculator. So 455 divided by 7 is going to give me 65. So the mean of this data set is 65. So what that means is the average speed those drivers were driving was exactly 65 miles per hour. So that was step 1. Find the mean. Step 2 is find the distance from each data point to the mean. So what that means is I need to subtract the mean from each data point. Another thing we need to keep in mind is we are looking for the distance between those two things. We're looking for the distance between the mean and the data points. So what that means is distance is always positive. Distance will always be positive. So we're always going to put the absolute value or the positive distance between the mean and the data points. So what we need to do now is we are going to subtract. So I'm going to do 61 minus 65, and that gives me negative 4. But remember, distance is always positive, so I'm just going to put 4. And I'm going to do the same thing for all 7 of those data points. So 68 minus 65 is 3. 63 minus 65 is negative 2. But again, it has to be positive, so I'm going to put 2. 67 minus 65 is 2. 70 minus 65 is 5. 62 minus 65 is negative 3, but again, it has to be positive, so I'm going to put positive 3. And 64 minus 65 is negative 1. Has to be positive, so I'm going to put positive 1. So that was step 2. I found the distances from each data point to the mean. If you notice, they gave us a table to help us write those distances. If they do not give you a table, you can easily make one. And last but not least, step 3, we're going to find the mean of those distances. So what that means is I'm going to take the distances. So I got 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 5 plus 3 plus 1. So these are my distances right here. I'm finding the mean of those distances. So I'm going to add them all together. And I'm going to divide by how many there were. So again, we can do this in our calculator. If I were to add up all these distances together, I would get 20. So I'm going to do 20 divided by 7. And that gives me 2.86 when I round to the nearest tenths. So this is my mean absolute deviation, or as I like to call, the MAD. If you hear me reference MAD, that's what this means. So this is my MAD, 2.86. Okay, we're going to do one more example, and then you guys will be able to practice on this page right here. We're going to do number 1 together. So here is a data set of 5 numbers. Step 1, I'm going to find the mean. And the way we do that is we're going to add up all of these numbers together and then divide by how many there are. So when I add up 35 plus 42 plus 41 plus 32 plus 30, I get 180. And then I'm going to divide that by how many numbers there are. Well, there are 5 numbers here, so I'm going to divide 180 by 5. 180 divided by 5 gives me the mean of 36. So that means the average, or the mean, of all 5 of those numbers is 36. That was step 1. Step 2, I need to find the distance. So remember how I told you if they don't give you a table to find the distances, you can make your own. Here's how we do that. Pretty easy. So now underneath those data points, I'm going to find the difference or the distance between our data point number and our mean. So 35 minus 36 is negative 1, but again, it has to be positive, so my distance is 1. 42 minus 36 is 6. 41 minus 36 is 5. 32 minus 36 is negative 4, but again, it has to be positive, so I'm going to put positive 4. And then 30 minus 36 is negative 6, but it has to be positive, so it's just 6. So these are my distances. Last step, we are going to find the mean absolute deviation, or the MAD. And the way we do that is we take these distances, we find the average, and then that is my mean absolute deviation. So when I add these numbers together, 1 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 6, I get 22. And I'm going to divide that by how many numbers there are. So I get 22 divided by 5, and that gives me 4.4. This is my mean absolute deviation, and if you look at the bottom of your page, that would be right here, letter U. So you're going to complete this assignment for today.